You wake up in two different countries on the same morning. In one, a startup founder checks overnight funding offers. In the other, a factory worker checks the price of bread. Same planet, same global economy, wildly different outcomes. And it's not because one country works harder. It's not culture. It's not even corruption, at least not in the way we usually think. There is a quiet system running underneath global headlines that decides who gets rich first and who is always late to the party. Most people never see it, but every country lives inside it. And right now, it matters more than ever because the gap between rich and poor nations isn't just growing, it's being engineered legally, calmly, and mostly invisibly. Let's start with a simple truth that sounds obvious but changes everything. Money is cheaper for some countries than others. Not goods, not labor, money itself. The United States can borrow trillions of dollars at low interest rates and barely raise eyebrows. Germany issues debt and investors fight to buy it. Japan has carried massive debt for decades without collapse. Now, compare that to Argentina or Sri Lanka or Nigeria. They borrow less and pay more. Same global market, different price. That difference is not accidental. After World War II, the world rebuilt itself around a few financial centers: Washington, London, New York. The US dollar became the default language of global trade. Oil, food, shipping, debt, this created stability and leverage. If your country earns and borrows in dollars, you're playing on American terms. If your currency weakens, your debt gets heavier overnight, even if you did nothing wrong. This is where the system starts separating winners from strugglers. Rich countries borrow in their own currency. Poor countries borrow in someone else's. That one detail changes everything. Imagine taking a loan where the amount you owe can increase just because someone else raised interest rates. That's not a metaphor. That's real life for dozens of countries. When the US Federal Reserve raises rates, it's fighting inflation at home. But globally, it sucks capital back into the dollar. Money leaves emerging markets, currencies fall, debt explodes. No vote, no warning, no appeal. This isn't a conspiracy, it's math, and the math doesn't care about elections. Now let's add another layer: creditworthiness. Countries are rated like borrowers: AAA, AA, junk. These ratings affect interest rates, investor trust, and capital flows. But here's the irony: countries that already have money get better ratings. Better ratings mean cheaper borrowing. Cheaper borrowing means faster growth. It's a feedback loop. Meanwhile, countries that struggle get punished with higher rates. Higher rates slow growth. Slow growth confirms the rating. It's not that the system hates poor countries, it just rewards stability, and stability is expensive. Now comes the uncomfortable part. Development is often sold as a ladder: education, infrastructure, innovation. Work hard, climb up. But the global financial system works more like an escalator. Some countries start already moving upward. Others are walking against the direction. You can do everything right and still fall behind. Take foreign investment. We're told it brings jobs and growth, and sometimes it does. But profits don't stay. They flow back to shareholders in richer countries. Local wages rise slowly. Capital exits quickly. Growth happens. Ownership doesn't. So the country grows, but doesn't accumulate power. Now zoom out. In the last few decades, global wealth exploded, but it concentrated, not randomly, in countries that control money, capital markets, and rule-making institutions. IMF, World Bank, trade bodies. Rules aren't neutral. They reflect who wrote them. Again, not evil, just structural. The system was built for stability after chaos. It succeeded. But stability for some meant constraints for others. And now we're reaching a breaking point. Rising debt, aging populations, climate shocks. The same system that accelerated growth is now amplifying risk. Countries that can print their way out survive storms. Countries that can't default. And when they default, assets get cheaper. Ownership shifts again, quietly. So who gets rich first? The countries that control money, the countries that borrow cheaply, the countries that set the rules early, not because they're smarter, but because they arrived earlier and locked the doors behind them. Here's the part nobody likes to say out loud. The global economy isn't a race, it's a stack, and moving up the stack doesn't just require effort, it requires permission. That permission comes in the form of trust, currency power, and timing, and those are not evenly distributed. So the real question isn't whether poorer countries can grow, they already are. The real question is whether the system will ever let them catch up, or whether catching up was never part of the design. Because if the rules stay the same, then developing might just be another word for waiting. Waiting for capital, waiting for stability, waiting for a seat that may never open. And that raises a final, uncomfortable thought. If this system created today's rich countries, what kind of world will it create next? And who will it decide gets rich first tomorrow?